everyone, welcome to the Lowdown Deadline Day special. We're live here across all the YouTubes. I had to stop myself saying League One Lowdown special there. I'm Jamie from the League One Lowdown. Sam with me here as well for this first hour. The two of us, we're going to talk about League One. That's our speciality, but we're going to cover the Championship as well in this first hour. And then the deadline is at 7, but we're going to keep going beyond the deadline. We're going to hand over to Jordan and some of his colleagues as well. And we're going to talk. They're going to talk about all of the other leagues, really. So stick with us for the couple of hours or more, potentially. It could be a long night. Depends how things go with deal sheets and such beyond the deadline. But we're going to keep you covered, myself and Seb, between now and 7. Before we kick off, Sam, and we'll start actually with Leyton Orient, your team. I'll pass you on to that. First off, how are you? And second off, a bit of a summary of the latest dealings and your makings of that Orient transfer window.
How can I put this in terms of... It's been a bit of a, not disaster, having to be very patient, shall we say. Obviously, Tommy Simkin went back on the 1st of January to Stoke because he got recalled. We then finally got a goalkeeper as of Friday of last week, which was like, the 29th? I'm thinking number one, experienced goalkeeper. Everyone's very happy. For the first time in ages, I've seen the Orient fan base very happy. He then gets injured in the warm-up. And you think the geezer behind you's making a joke of it. Oh, he's been injured in the warm-up. And Cahill walks out and it's like, oh no, he's actually injured. So we now need another goalkeeper, which is always fun. I've seen a couple of names floating around. So there's a fella from Celtic who's been on loan at Kilmarnock. And there's also Ellery Balcom as well. That's been floating around from Brentford. So we'll see what happens with that. I suspect that will happen in the next hour. Needed a left back because we didn't have one. He went back from his loan as well. He's ended up at Sheffield Wednesday, has had a Romola. Pretty happy with that. Omar Beckles left the football club. What a legend. That's all I can say about Omar Beckles. Yeah, it's a very good signing for Gillingham, to be honest. A proper leader. Proper Gareth Ainsworth defender, I think it's fair to say. But a proper leader and a legend at the football club, I think. To play 200 appearances in the modern day for a League One club is mightily impressive. We've got AJ Matthews on loan from Millwall. Don't know anything about him. Just seems one of them Orient signings that they just hope comes in and works. And then Will Forrester, very good black centre half from Bolton, but he can't stay fit. So that's very Orient as well. So I'm being patient. I still hope we got 2 more. Hopefully a progressive midfielder comes in and hopefully another goalkeeper, shall we say.
Yes, plenty still to do with teams like Leyton Orient. There's a lot of teams up and down the divisions who are down at the bottom, needs something to happen in this last bit of time. Doncaster can attach themselves to that. Elliot Lee came in earlier on in the day from Wrexham on a loan until the end of the season, adding in an extra man for that forward line. Bit more of a 10, you would say, but add something different with Okonkwo from Lincoln, one of the other Doncaster signings this January, already injured. It's a bit of a female team bringing in players and they're already getting injured. So in lieu of that, Doncaster have brought in Elliot Lee, who could make the difference. And you're always looking for someone at this time of season. If you're in a relegation scrap, if you're fighting for the playoffs or for a title, you're looking for one player to change your trajectory. And Elliot Lee could be that for Doncaster. A couple of comments in already. Remember, wherever you are watching along, do put comments into the chat. Questions, perhaps. We'll do our best to answer them. Or save them for our guests as we go along. Different specialities coming throughout the podcast. Comment there from Jake saying Seb must be buzzing. That I'm assuming is linked to this Davis Keillor done news. We're going to talk about that because Seb's coming on at 6:20. I don't know how happy he is about that, but he's going to come on here to talk about all things Barnsley and really all things Wrexham, because a lot of Barnsley's work in these latter hours attached to Wrexham. I mentioned there in terms of Doncaster with Elliot Lee, one of the deals so far of deadline day. There's plenty of others, plenty more high-profile transfers as well. Some coming in on the hour. I'll get your quick reactions to these, Sam. Dom Jeffries has signed a new contract at Lincoln City. Lincoln always busy on deadline day. This one, I guess, a bit more of a positive move as opposed to it being a new player coming in. Frank Onyeka has moved from Brentford to Coventry. Jack Batty from Blackburn Rovers to Swindon, and a move from the Championship to League One for Wes Harding. He moves from Millwall who have been active themselves this month with Barry Bannon, one of the players they brought in. He's gone to Plymouth. The other move coming through at 6 o'clock to mention is Raksaki from Crystal Palace, who are another team who's been very active. John Philip Mateta, a player who's been talked about a lot over the past few weeks. He's gone to Stoke as Sakai. Maybe a brief mention to John Philip Mateta, as well as those few transfers I've just thrown at you there, Sam. I guess Mateta has been one of the stories of the whole month, and it seems now that he isn't going to be moving away.
Yeah, it's got to be because I know Glasner's obviously expressed his annoyance, shall we say, at players who taking them out the day before games, like it happened with Gurhey, it happened with someone they lost in the summer as well. I can't remember who. Eze as well
went in
from
the
up
summer,
to Arsenal. Yeah, so he's lost 2 key players. He doesn't particularly want to lose a third, but I know he's announced he's leaving at the end of the season. But they haven't won in 11 games in all competitions. Like, you could sell Mateta. I don't know how much they're going to get for Mateta, but it looks like he's failed his medical because of these knee issues. Even if they got Strand Larsen, it's not an upgrade. Like, you're spending 42 million on Strand Larsen. He looks like a confident centre forward in terms of, if you get him going, he looks very good, Strand Larsen. But if he's out of form, he looks like a bit of a donkey, to be honest. I don't think it looks out of place in like League Two with some of the stuff he's been doing recently. So it's got to be gutting though for Mateta. Like, you're going to one of the biggest clubs in Italy and the world in terms of a well-renowned name, in terms of was it AC Milan, and to have that fall through in the final couple of hours has got to be pretty disastrous. But if you're Steve Parish, for example, you're probably thinking, good, I don't have to spend 42 million quid on a new centre forward.
Yeah, and I'm sure obviously Oliver Glasner will be very happy about that as well. A comment coming through from a Northampton Town fan, George, saying the Cobblers need to do something. Our season relies on these 53 minutes, and that's a really good illustration of just how important, especially deadline day, is. It's that last chance to bring someone in to try and turn the tide of the season before those last few months and that run-in. Another couple of signings I wanted to bring in at Mansfield Town, a couple of interesting ones for them. George Abbott is coming on loan from Spurs, the midfielder, and a bit more high profile, Tyler Roberts, of course, formerly of Leeds. He's joined until the end of the season, was at Birmingham City most recently, had a few issues with injuries, and now joining Mansfield. That, on the face of it, if he can stay fit, is a really good signing for Mansfield.
Yeah, but Mansfield have had a very under the radar, I think, January so far. I think they've got 5 in. Probably the only questionable one was Harry Lewis from Carlisle, but they needed a backup goalkeeper. John Russell, obviously on a loan from Barnsley. That was a surprise one to see Barnsley let him go to a League One rival, considering their sort of positions in the table. Oliver Ero got 2 goals in his debut. I mean, you can't ask much more from a new signing than that. And then
and he looked really
Tyler
good,
Roberts. Yeah, Tyler Roberts, while he's had troubles with injuries, I don't mean this in a derogatory way to Mansfield. For players to come to Mansfield who are like big names like Tyler Roberts, usually something's gone wrong in their career. Like Aaron Connolly to Leyton Orient, for example, a big name for the level, has ended up at a smaller club for the level. But you keep Tyler Roberts fit, arguably he could be one of the top sort of 10 wingers in the division. So it adds a bit of flair, doesn't it? A bit of pace to the Mansfield front line as well. So I think they've had a very, very under the radar January of Mansfield Town, and they're in a really good position in the table as well. I think
they're having an under the radar season, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
In terms of where
they had
they
that
are
sort of
the table.
spell. They had that spell, didn't they, where they sort of plummeted after their cup game against Everton. We're thinking, oh, here we go. It's very similar to last season. But Nigel Clough's an excellent manager for the level, vastly experienced, and they've massively picked up again. And you never know. There's always one team that's an outside shot for the top 6. Not saying they're going to do it, but they're making a good fist of it.
Yeah, definitely that. In terms of the other teams in League One, Lincoln City, Louis Montsemer has left the club. A 6-month deal has seen him up to Dundee. There's been lots of links going into various different places. He's ended up in Dundee. There's an option to extend his contract as well there. He's only 27, but has struggled with injuries. So if he can stay fit, of course, a very good player there. Herbie Kane, in terms of a League One move, has gone from Huddersfield on loan to Plymouth. That's a good signing. Plymouth have, I guess, another team have gone a little bit under the radar. A good piece of business there. A move in the Championship. Joe Aribo has gone again on loan from Southampton to Leicester. A lot of loans today. That's been the real theme of the day. A question coming through on the chat, and the eyes sort of dart everywhere. We're looking up at the comments, we're looking at the various different websites and pages, and it's from a Wigan fan, Carlin Vickers, to Wigan. Sam, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's probably not the statement signing probably Wigan fans wanted. His goal return is not amazing from his spells at Mansfield and I think it was Barnsley for the start of the season. But what he does add is pace. A pacey striker who does work hard, runs the channels very well. But they obviously lost Paul Mullin, who did struggle, I think it's fair to say, at Wigan.
Struggled for game
but they needed
time,
guaranteed. But they needed guaranteed goals, Wigan. That I didn't expect them to be in the predicament that they're in. I don't think you did either. We obviously predicted them quite high in our predictions. But yeah, they're in a very sticky situation. They need guaranteed goals. I don't personally think Vickers offers that. While I think he gives you a different dynamic to their front line, I don't think he's going to get them 10 to 15 goals between now and the end of the season, which is probably what they need.
Yeah, exactly that. Formerly of Reading, he's had loans at Mansfield, to mention them again, and Barnsley in the first half of the season. 15 games he played in League One in Barnsley in terms of appearances, not the majority of those in the starting 11, but only just 2 goals, 2 assists. So he's not been too clinical in terms of the games he's had. You can play across that front line, though. So adds a different option. But yeah, Paul Mullin, he's of course gone to Bradford. They've been active today. Ethan Wheatley has joined them. That was a move that Grant McCann leaked. It almost turned out in his sort of pre-match press conference before the game on Saturday. A cheeky plug for our League One Lowdown podcast. Myself and Seb talked about that Bradford Doncaster game. In the run-up to it, it was mentioned that Grant McCann was, they've got Ethan Wheatley coming in. He might be there for the weekend. He wasn't, but he's there now. So a bit of a funny one. But it's not a bad signing. And they've brought in some decent players through the window. Jackson as well, one they've brought in not too long ago, who had a goal disallowed at the weekend. So they've been active. And hopefully for them, of course, they'll try and keep where they are on the table.
Yeah, Bradford had a really impressive, and they've kind of gone for it, haven't they? As well, it's nice to see. Like they could have rested on their laurels, so to speak, and gone, we'll be all right to the end of the season. But they've added a lot of firepower. They lost Andy Cook, and we thought, they'll only get one, maybe a second striker, but they bought 3. Caden Jackson and they're all sort of different centre forwards. Ethan Wheatley is a physical centre forward who holds the ball up. Paul Mullin, we know what Paul Mullin does. He runs the channels and he works hard. And Caden Jackson is completely different. I think Caden Jackson is a proper penalty box type striker who's extremely pacey. So all different types of strikers, which adds 3 different dynamics to Bradford's side. The interesting one was Harrison Ashby for me, in terms of what we're talking 4 years ago. He was at West Ham playing in the first team, and West Ham fans are really disappointed when he chose to go to Newcastle. And he's kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth. He had a loan spell at Swansea and didn't do much there. And now he's ended up at League One. So it's an opportunity for him to try and resurrect his career as well. And in terms of the wing-back formation that Bradford play, I think he could be quite suited to that. So I think Bradford have had a very, very good January. And they did need to add some more goals. Their games are losing 2-1, 1-0. And I think that will massively help them in terms of different options, different profiles of forwards. And they've also got Louis Sibley as well, who can play about 18 different positions. So
some deals a bit further up the pyramid. We will talk about Wrexham and about Barnsley when Seb comes on in about 5 minutes. But a bit further up, we mentioned Mateta. Some of the other headlines: Calvin Phillips, a very surprising loan move for him. Sheffield United, of course, with the Championship in for him. Still at Manchester City, though. Perhaps you wouldn't know that based on his lack of game time recently. Spurs set to sign 18-year-old Hearts striker James Wilson. That's initially a loan, it appears. Of course, Hearts top of the Scottish Premiership, and another deal involving a Scottish side. Celtic, their midfielder Arnie Engels has been the subject of attention from Nottingham Forest. 3 deals, the third rumoured at 25 million. They've all been rejected. So Forest are one of those teams trying to be very active on deadline day, trying to do something. I guess on the other end of the spectrum is Newcastle, saying Sandro Tonali is not for sale. There's some interesting comings and goings. A lot of different teams at this. Some got lots of work they want to do. Some obviously not so much.
Yeah, I think Arsenal, obviously Marino's probably out for the rest of the season, I believe now. So they needed a centre midfielder. The one they did try and get as well was Leon Goretzka, but that kind of disintegrated quite quickly, that sort of deal. Newcastle, I'm surprised they've not been more active, to be honest. I don't know how they can't be that close on the PSR budget because they sold Ishak for 125 million or whatever it was in the summer. So they can't be close. And I did think they needed a bit more in midfield just to rotate and actually give him Arias, who's now injured, and Tonali just that break. So yeah, I think in terms of Arsenal, they probably didn't need anything anyway, really, did they? Their squad, they could look through their squad. They got 2 players for every position anyway. So, and they've got Havertz and Jesus back. So they're going to be pretty nifty in the second half of the season. And while we're at it, we might as well talk Manchester City in terms of they've decided to go, let's buy Premier League proven, the best ones available from the smaller clubs, which isn't surprising either. And it's not disappointing to see, but it's a shame they have gone to City because it's nice to see smaller clubs give that sort of competition and break that top 6 barrier, isn't it? Like Palace sort of did it last year but won a trophy. Bournemouth were sort of edging there. Then we had the rumours of Semenyo. He went off the boil and he's gone to City and scored 4 in his first 5, which is the first time that's happened for Manchester City since Adebayor did it in 2009. So Semenyo was always going to be good there, but it's just a shame. I think we've got a no title race this year.
That's a bold statement. So early on the live stream, the first big call of the live stream. A few bits from Peter O'Rourke picking up on Twitter. Number of EFL clubs, I should say, big pardon, looking to sign Nottingham Forest midfielder Kyle McAdam on loan until the end of the window, and Sunderland forward Ahmed Abdullahi, again a target of a number of EFL clubs on loan. Burton, one of the teams rumoured for him, who themselves have been fairly active today. Gary Bowyer has made, I guess, no hiding of the fact that he's wanted business done, especially in that forward department. Have they done enough, I guess, quickly, Sam, in this window?
That's a very good question. I'm not actually too sure they did, to be honest. And I'm just picking up on something which you mentioned Mateta 30 seconds ago. He's now out for the next 3 to 4 months and will undergo surgery on his knee. That's what I was reading. So I've kind of missed half the things you were saying and just mentioned about a striker. And Mateta's just popped up on mid-tie line. And he'll undergo surgery. He'll undergo surgery and will miss the next 3 to 4 months after his failed medical. So old Steve Parish might have to put the money where his mouth is, so to speak, now. But there's so much happening at the moment. Like Ruel Walters has just gone to Blackpool on loan until the end of the season from Luton. Luton are a very weird club in January. Like they've sold Lamine Fane, and Marvelous Nakamba looks like he's going out on loan as well. So a lot of the players that actually came down with them are now going, and they're sort of just bringing lots of different players in, which is not something you really want to do in January. Completely overhaul especially your midfield area. That needs to be your stability. So yeah, we'll wait to see. Jack Wilshere will probably sign himself if he could, to be honest.
Nice comment there from Paul. Great show. Thank you, Paul. Bradford fan. We talked about Bradford a little bit earlier on. Another League One move, Duncan Watmore. He's gone to Rotherham. And there are obviously big movements. We teased it earlier at Wrexham, and we're going to talk about them with my League One review co-host, Seb, who's waiting in the wings. There he is. Hello, Seb. And
hello, good evening. Yeah.
The main story, of course, you know what we're going to ask you, is Davis Keeler done? It's looking imminent. All the signals are pointing that he's going to go to Wrexham, of course, from Barnsley. What are your makings of that?
Well, Jamie, when we recorded the review show the other day, I thought we were in for a pretty chilled ride for this one. I thought sort of at the time there was not a lot circulating when it came to Barnsley and not a lot circulating when it came to Davis Keeler-Dunn. But today, sort of, as soon as it hits at 9 o'clock this morning, all we've been hearing is Wrexham and for Davis Keeler-Dunn. Davis Keeler-Dunn has travelled to Wrexham, medical being done, paperwork happening. And we are 40 minutes now from the official deadline. Obviously, you can submit what they call the deal sheet, can't you, where you can sign before, if deal's not going to be fully complete by 7 o'clock, they can sign that and then it can be announced a bit later on. So we're here 40 minutes for the deadline. I do think he will be a Wrexham player by the close of play tonight.
Yeah. I don't think that's sticking your neck on the line. It definitely seems like we're going in that direction, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's a few thoughts from that. Yeah, I guess firstly, I can't blame him. Obviously, you know, the money the Wrexham will be offering, Championship football, you can't blame him. 28 years of age. He's actually in his prime right now. I don't think he's going to get any. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to get any better. I think now he's at his peak, and Wrexham obviously signing him at his peak. I think rumored 3.5-year deal, so that'll take him to sort of 31 years of age. So Wrexham will have him at the peak. He used to play for the club, so I guess he's got that sort of belonging there and that attachment to the club. And yeah, he's a good player. It's just a shame we've not been able to hold on to. But that's Barnsley for you, something in a nutshell. So slightly frustrating in terms of I guess we've had our window to prepare for it. We'll come on to this, I'm sure, in a few moments. And here we are, sort of on the last day. We've gone the whole window. I think we're going to keep hold of him, and then no real serious rumours, and then you get to last day and all hell breaks loose, really.
Yeah, I guess before I hand to Sam, there's 19 goals he scored last season, 13 already this campaign. He got a couple obviously at the weekend. Really big player. There has been a replacement, if you like. Obviously, that deal still, we don't know it's been confirmed yet in terms of the move to Wrexham, but you have brought a signing in to Barnsley.
We have, yeah, and it's I guess and one of those that's already been played for the club in Tom Bradshaw. He's played for the club 2017 to 2018, I think it was at Barnsley, or 2016, 2018 it was. So 2 years, nearly 10 years ago now. And it was all right. It was all right. Sort of, he played okay. He wasn't sort of our top goal scorer. He got maybe mid-teens sort of in terms of goals. So he did score, but wasn't sort of the focal point of the team. And he's come back in on a loan to the end of the season from Oxford. So he signed for Oxford last summer. Before that, I was at Millwall for a few years, having moved there from Barnsley. So it's a weird one. I hope it's not it's going to end up being. We need another striker anyway, but it's looked as though sort of he is coming to replace Keeldon. But they're different sorts of players. Obviously, Keeldon is a bit more tricky, got a bit more pace. Bradshaw just doesn't have that. He's 33 now. He's going to be more that sort of similar type role to David McGoldrick. I think those two will swap in terms of, one might play 60, then another will come off, finish half an hour, then the next game it's sort of be the way around. So I think that's how it will look. The problem is it looks worse with Keeldon going, and it looks as though sort of they are a direct replacement for each other when that is not the case at all. Because even we still needed that second striker in Bradshaw before Keeldon was even rumoured to be going. So Bradshaw's a weird one. He's not scored, I don't think, since August 2024 or something like that. So nearly 18 months, and he's meant to be a striker. I know he's been out with injury, I think, for some of that period, but even still. Not great figures as such, but he knows the club. He knows where the back of the net is for Barnsley. So hopefully, and he played with Hurrian as well. Obviously now manager.
Signing all his mates, his other hand, isn't it?
Well,
it's his birthday today as well.
Yeah.
Busy
It
birthday.
is his birthday, yeah. So no doubt we're going to get a couple of a couple of his old colleagues will be given a call as well, maybe. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's made worse by Keeldon and his move to Wrexham.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because they're probably two different types of forwards, aren't they? Keelan Dunn's probably someone who drops deep, dribbles with the ball, where Tom Bradshaw's sort of going to be that sort of penalty box striker, isn't he? So you probably could say you're going to be one or two short unless you change your style of play, because you've now got, a 37-year-old David McGoldrick and a 34-year-old Tom Bradshaw leading the line for you. So, and I always thought Conor Hourihane would be this sort of high pressing or go two ways, a high pressing, high intensity manager, or a real counter-attacking manager. And I don't think he can do either with the two strikers he's now got at his disposal. My question would be, are you worried about the teams behind you in the table? I know you've got so many games in hand and you have scored 40 goals. You're losing probably arguably one of the best players in the division. Are you hopeful that it'll be reinvested in the next hour?
I don't think it will be reinvested in the next hour. I think the board will keep hold of the money, and I don't think we'll see anything imminently coming today. which is the frustrating thing of Barnsley. And we get all this money. The same happened with Liam Kitchen when we sold him a few years ago. I think it was for $5 million to Coventry. We've not really seen that money been reinvested. Davis Keeldon has probably been our most expensive signing, but even he cost sort of £750,000. So we've still had that chunk of money still not spent. So I don't think we'll see anything. I think if we do see any movement as such, it will be in the summer. We might bring a sort of short-term deal, sort of a loan, or even just someone that might, a free agent that might be on out contract until the end of the season, just to bridge that gap. But I don't think we're going to spend anything tonight from that money, which is frustrating. But it's the way Barnsley have sort of been the last few years. Yeah, it's just really annoying. It's just really like, he's our star player. Yes, he's gone. He's done really well to be announced, but it's sort of keeled on going has just made it all a little bit of a mess. And I know you shouldn't sort of base your whole season on around one player, but he was just so impactful. He's been such a good player for Barnsley. And then you're right, Barnsley not going to get relegated this season. But equally, having had the two good wins that we have had over the past few weeks, we've managed to build a bit more of a side that fits Horian's style of play, played some really good football as well. And then you think, oh, right, okay, let's go and push on. And they're just selling DKD here today. Oh, well, very close, I'm sure. Just in a few minutes' time, let's see how things go. But very close to that. And then it's sort of all been sort of thrown out the window, basically, because of DKD going.
Question in the chat from our producer Ryan. Odds on all three of us in terms of our teams: Doncaster, Leyton Orient, Barnsley being relegated. I think you're the safest of the three of us there, Seb, regardless of Keelan Dunn's status. But yeah, I think Elliot Lee mentioned earlier is going to do us wonders, and that does link back to that conversation about Wrexham. Lots going on with them. We'll keep you in for this bit, Seb. Of course, Elliot Lee, we mentioned they're gone to Doncaster. Beda Kadamarchi, one from Sheffield Wednesday that's been thrown around. He was on loan at Lincoln. I think a 7-figure fee has been sort of rumoured there, even withstanding the Davis Keeldon news. And it looks like, though, a deal going in the opposite direction as well over to Huddersfield. Lots to sort of pick the bones out of, isn't there, in a Wrexham capacity?
There is, there is. Obviously, Wrexham have the money. That's the bottom line. Is they can afford to bring in these good players. Keeldon's one of them, Kadamarchi another one, and because of these incomings, they've got quite a few outgoings as well. But like you said, Elliot Lee just sort of freshening up that attack. We've seen Conor Cody leave in their defence as well. Yes, he wasn't starting a lot of games, but still, they can afford just to refresh these players every window, basically, because they have the money. They've got that attractive nature to players in the Championship, to players in League One that want to step up to the Championship, like Keeler done. They have that money in there. They have that traction, and it's a club going in the right direction. And of course, you want to be part of that journey. If you get the option, not only do you get obviously a bigger wage and you might do it at another club, but the journey that the club has been on over the last few years and will continue to go on in the next few years, why would you not want to be a part of that? And they're at serious. They're in a promising position right now in the Championship table. But we know a lot about them. Obviously, having been in League One last year, having covered them. They're a good side. They've got a good structure themselves. Got a good manager in Phil Parkinson as well, and they're just going from strength to strength, which is really annoying for the other side. But actually, it's good to see. As I said, sort of given their journey and their rise up. But yeah, they have the money, unlike a lot of the clubs in this, the current situation in terms of PSR and the fact how much it actually costs now to run a club. Wrexham seem to be able to spend these big bucks to bring in players, and why would you not want to go to Wrexham?
Yeah. One more question for you, Seb, for me before we let you go. I'm going to give you a little bit of thinking time as well. Obviously, League One is our bag. Best transfer windows, worst transfer windows, maybe what stands out for you in terms of League One? And while you think about that, just to bring Sam back in, on this move, Ryan Hardy going, it looks like from Wrexham to Huddersfield, it's sort of that Keeler Dunn move paving the way. What do you make of that as a transfer? Good move, do you think, for Huddersfield if it comes off?
Oh, very, very much so. Promotion winning pedigree, numerous goals at this level, and I never thought he got really a fair shot at Wrexham, to be honest. He was so. I'm surprised he's gone to Huddersfield purely because they've got Alfie May, but I know he's had 2 red cards this season. One, which was questionable last time out. But they have sold a couple of forwards. Obviously, Joe Taylor's gone from Huddersfield, so there is that sort of position available. And I mean, if you've got Alfie May and Ryan Hardy as your two front strikers who they can interchange with each other, boy, they're going to be a serious side in the sort of last 16 games of the season. And Liam Manning has gone in, hasn't he, and hit the ground running immediately. They actually look like a proper football team again. So yeah, I think they'll be ones to watch. I know they've got a 10-point gap to Lincoln, but I think they're going to be the ones to watch, to be honest.
Just to
move for Davis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just about to sort of come in and say that we knew it was sort of bubbling. We knew it's been coming all day, but at 6:30, so 30 minutes before the official deadline, both Wrexham and Barnes have confirmed for Barnes' point, the departure of Davis Keeldon. I just read you out from a couple of sort of key points from Barnes' statement, saying that Keeldon's completed a permanent transfer to Wrexham for an undisclosed fee. There were a few talks about this figure, some saying 2 million, some saying 3. I think Barnes actually rejected a bid of 4 million in the summer, so I'm sure anything upwards of that would be more likely, perhaps. So score, since arriving in 2024, scored 19 goals in 44 appearances last season. This season, 34 appearances, 16 goals, 1 assist, making him one of League One's most effective attacking threats. And Conor Hourihan, the head coach of Barnsley, just says, Davis has been a fantastic player since the moment he arrived. His goal energy would lose the player here. On the journey, the fact that he's going back to his old club, having been there, I think it's sort of when they were in the National League around 24 pandemic, cyclical journey. Yeah, it's a begrudge him of that move ball. Because one of the standout players for that, he's shown in league he plays for. He can do about that. So he's really sort of gutting the best. He's come. Yeah, hats off to him. This year.
That helps.
No, no. I'm trying to think. Who is?
Do we put Barnsley in the bad category now? Now Keeldon's gone.
Depends. Obviously, they've got half an hour to bring someone in. I think there was a plan. I keep talking about Barnsley, but obviously that's why I'm here. I think there will have been a long-term plan to bring in a replacement and a successor. Whether they can get that done in the next half an hour, obviously they've basically had a day's notice, and they've whether they can get someone in or even a couple of bodies in by the end of the play today. In terms of best windows in the league this season, I'm impressed by Bradford's strike. I mentioned this in the review show. Their strike force, in terms of the two additions of Caden Jackson and Paul Mullin. I think both of those are real fire horses in this division, and it's not really worked out for them in the divisions higher, but actually in League One, both of them are really good players, and they can score goals, and Bradford need that, to just keep them up with the top of the pack. Obviously, it's so tight up there, as we've been saying, that they have to keep winning games and keep scoring goals to make sure that they're still up there and don't drop down. So, Bradford for me.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us, of course, Seb. We've got a nice comment that's just come through there saying one of our watchers thought me and Sam were the same person at first. I don't know who that reflects better, and I think I've done the best out of that, Sam, I have to say. But thank you, of course, Seb, for joining us. Josh Stones is one of the strikers that have been rumoured as a replacement. Of course, Seb, I'll be back with him on the review show on the League One Lowdown later in the week. A few transfers have come through while we've been chatting to Seb. Just to round you up, keep you updated on your thoughts on these, Sam, before we bring on our next guest. John Palmer, rumouring that Isaac Hutchinson sets to rejoin Bristol Rovers. That'll be a loan. Sam Waller has gone from Burnley to Harrogate. And a couple other rumours. Sammy Smodix potentially going to Derby. And in League One, Louis Barry might be heading to Stockport. You need to pick the bones out of that before we bring Ollie on to things Hull and Championship.
John Eustace, I believe, managed Sammy Smodix at Blackburn and got him to be one of the best strikers in the division. So if he can go there and get him back, £4 million is a steal. Isaac Hutchinson will probably leave to the League Two guys at 7 o'clock. They will probably know more about him than I do, to be honest, but it seems Steve Evans has kind of gone in and gone, right, let's do a Steve Evans transfer window. Everybody out. I want my own players, which is what he's very good at doing. I think the big one for us in League One is Louis Barry, rumoured to be going back to Stockport County. Not really what I want to hear just before I'm trudging up there on Saturday. We know what Louis Barry and how good he was last season. He was still one of the top goals and assisters in League One in January before he left. And by the end of the season, he was still in the top three, which was absolutely ridiculous. So if he comes in, yeah, Stockport are going to be a serious side. They've got Lolly Norwood back from injury, Ben Osborne's back from injury, and they're looking a serious football club again. Like we were quite critical, weren't we, in our sort of half-season review. And since then, they're unbeaten. So I'm going to take that we've basically kicked them all up the backside, and we can take the plaudits for that one.
Very good. As always, still plenty coming in. We're going to join by Ollie in just a second to talk about Hull and the Championship overall. One of the bigger news stories of the day from Liverpool. Jeremy Jackett is the pronunciation I'm going for there. That's actually a signing that won't be done until the summer. £60 million coming in from Rennes, doing his medical, I believe, is the latest update on him, the centre half. So it is strange, and I guess shows the different side of things between the teams lower down and those teams right up at the top, that they can plan for the summer, whereas a lot of the other teams are, of course, planning for now. It's not been has it been as busy as usual? I'm not quite sure it has, Sam. I guess there's an overall on deadline day. It's not seemingly been as busy as usual, but of course, still plenty to talk about.
Normally our phones are pinging every 5 minutes, and they have at least 6 sort of transfer updates. It seems a lot of clubs got it done early. I think it's fair to say a lot earlier than normal. And then you've got the old League 1 and 2 clubs absolutely panicking, going, oh my God, we need 4 players. Orient, for example, we need 3 or 4. It's, 6 o'clock nearly? 6:30? 6:30. And we need 3 at least in the door still. I'm fully expecting at 7 o'clock to have one, and then at 9 o'clock to have another, being brutally honest.
Okay. With of course the deal sheets, meaning that you, as long as the sort of the main chunk of the deal is done before 7, that those signings can come in afterwards.
Yeah, so I think while the deadline is at 7, I think we're going to have transfers going on till about 9 o'clock, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so we'll carry on the stream. Myself and Sam are going to move over at 7 and hand across, but do stick, of course, with the broadcast. Apologies for any technical issues while Seb was with us. We're keeping tabs on that as we bring in Ollie, who Hull City fan, is going to talk about them first and foremost. First of all, Ollie, hope you're okay. Hope you're having a good deadline day. And before we talk about the Championship as a bit more of an overall, it's not been a bad window for Hull. It's been obviously a very good season.
I am stunned and blown away by the window we've had so far. It's an incredible window, and I think Jakirovic just deserves so much credit for the business he's doing and the ownership model that we've got at Hull City at the moment. Obviously, we're under embargo, and some of the things that they've done so far this season and in this window, there's been nothing short of incredible. You know, we're third in the league. We're going into a run of games now where we've got 4 home games in a row. We've just brought in Kieran Dowell. We've just brought in Lewis Kumas. We've just brought in Toby Collier. We've had to release Enis Destan and Joel Ndala, who's gone back to Man City, and then immediately loaned back up to Sheffield Wednesday this evening. We'll look stronger. We'll look stronger. It's been a nice, quiet deadline day for Hull City. There was rumour around John Egan being linked with West Ham of all places. last sort of couple of hours. But
they've been after every defender in the
Yeah.
land. By
I
the
think
seems
so,
of things.
but to be linked with 33-year-old John Egan is a turn up for the Bucks. I think it's down to the fact that obviously we've made no bones about the fact that Charlie Hughes isn't for sale, and even though we've set ourselves in such a good stead now for the championship and really given ourselves a tilt at automatic promotion, it was a bit of a no-brainer to keep hold of Charlie Hughes now. The gamble is to keep him now for the rest of the season. Even if bids did come in, I think it made most sense to keep hold of him.
Yeah, one thing I want to pick up on, Hull, and League One viewers will know I love my XG table. And Hull currently sit 19 places above where they should be, and should apparently be in 22nd place, and should have conceded 12 more goals than they should have. Obviously, you've only signed, I think it's Paddy McNair, as sort of a defensive-minded player. Are you concerned in the second half of the season the numbers may eventually catch up, or are you pretty consistent in terms of we're just going to go and outscore people now?
Well, I think the style of games have changed as well recently. I think the tactics have changed a little bit under Jurkovic. We seem to have gone from that team who would be like, right, we're going to go and outscore you. We'll go and score 5 to your 4. And our goal differences has actually started creeping up a little bit, and we're making it harder to concede. All right, granted, there's been times this season where we've come up against, let's say, for instance, Zampa Potnik, who's missed open goal after open goal. He missed 2 clear chances, and Swansea should have probably won that game on balance. But don't get me wrong, we've ridden our luck. We're hoping to keep hold of, obviously, John Egan now. We've brought in Paddy McNair, as you just said. We're hoping to have Semi Ajayi back from his injury that he picked up in the 3rd, 4th place playoff in the African Cup of Nations. Of course, I'm concerned, because if it goes down, if we lose a couple of key defenders, if we lose Charlie Hughes, for instance, it's going to be difficult. How do you replace that? You can't, can you? So, of course, there's a concern there. But in the same breath, does Jurkovic then go back to the original model of, right, we'll just go back and start outscoring you again, because we can do that? Yeah, there is a slight concern. I mean, I love that XG statistic. I think it's brilliant. Every single week I read on Twitter or on the socials that Hull City are the worst team in the league. They're the worst team in the league. We're 3rd in the league, man. With 3 points outside the automatic. So long may we continue to be the worst team in the championship. That's what I said.
Yeah, Jamie always tells me that
You always
football's
shove
not
the
played on
XG, Sam. That's what he's telling you there.
You
In
always
the
tell me
nicest
football's
possible
played
way,
on-
Sam.
Yeah, you always say football's played on the grass, not on paper, Sam. And I still go off stats. In terms of the championship as a whole, obviously we've got Coventry City who are bottling their way to the playoffs once again. And I think Middlesbrough are the team that have surprised me quite a lot. Obviously, when Rob Edwards left, they were in a pretty good position. And Kim Hellberg's kind of just continued their massive progress. 2nd best defence in the league, just behind, I think it's Stoke and Ipswich. Do you see them keeping the pace, or do you think they're the team sort of to go on to win the league now, Middlesbrough?
I think they look fantastic at the moment. What Hellberg's done is, you obviously alluded to it already, he picked them up when they were in 2nd place in the championship. And I spoke about it on the pod when it actually happened. It's not very often that a job comes available 2nd in the championship. It just at that stage in the season as well. So I think what Hellberg's done in that short space of time, he's made them exciting. He's made them really difficult to beat. And they score some really, really good goals. And I love the football they play. They're just so exciting at the moment. They're clearly the form team in the division. Looking really, really good. Breathing right down of Coventry's neck now, along with us. Playing a different kind of football to what we are. But yeah, they're definitely the team to watch. Look outstanding at the moment.
I think one thing to say about the championship this year is how nice it is to see not the 3 promoted teams, bar one, doing well. Like you've got Leicester down in 16th place, pending another points deduction, and Southampton down in 14th. Like you've got yourselves in Hull City, Middlesbrough, Coventry, Millwall. I mean, they've had a right go at it in January as well. Wrexham, obviously, they were going to invest. Derby, Preston, Bristol City, who have decided that they want to sell everybody, it seems, this January. We may as well talk about it as well. Blackburn Rovers sacked Valerian Ismail today. I'm guessing that wasn't a surprising one, considering number 1 league position and number 2 form.
I think it's been coming for a long time, hasn't it? I think the Blackburn fans have been crying out for it for a long time. And they hate everything about the club at the moment. They hate the ownership model. They're riddled with injuries. They didn't like Ismail in charge. And it's proven that he's finally come to a head there and he's gone. The difficulty is now is who do Blackburn bring in to try and keep them in this division? I think it's a really, really difficult appointment, this. I was talking to a Leicester fan today, just to go back quickly to Leicester, and he was saying the same thing. I mean, the odds have shortened today on Maresca coming back for Leicester till the end of the season, which would massively lift the club. I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do for Leicester. I think somebody who knows the division at the moment, and just to try and get them out of safety and start picking up some points, would be somebody like Gary Rowett for Leicester for me. I think that'll be one that makes most sense. In terms of Blackburn,
into the region for him as well. He likes to sort of stay in Midlands area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure who for Blackburn is the right fit now. It's a real difficult job for whoever comes in.
Yeah, I reckon they'll probably go to the foreign market, to be honest, with Blackburn, especially with their sort of track record. Tony Mowbray basically, I think, got turned down for that job. In terms of then who's had the best and worst transfer windows in the Championship, we'll start off with the dreary, who's had the worst, and then we'll move on to the best.
Well, you're probably looking at Sheffield Wednesday for the worst, aren't you? I mean, I know they brought in, Joel and Dala in this afternoon. Which, don't get me wrong, he had a decent crack at it with us, but it looks a little bit lightweight. And going to Sheffield Wednesday, they're already doomed, aren't they? So it's almost like they're just kind of ticking the time down now till League One, really. So probably Sheffield Wednesday. In terms of the best, I mean, I'm just looking at the rumoured signings now. I'm looking at Calvin Phillips to Sheffield United.
Yeah, he's gone probably off the ball. Yeah, he probably get injured after about 5 minutes.
But I mean, he was 40-odd million quid at one point. So, to be linked with Sheffield United at this stage of his career, I think it'd be a fantastic signing for them. I think in terms of the teams and who they've brought in, you can't really look past what we've done, given the fact that we're under embargo. We've strengthened. We look stronger than we did in December, now in January. And we can really push on, which is madness to be even considering saying this. And we can really push on and really go for them top 2 spots, because the run of games we've got now, you look at the fixtures that we've got left now, and we've got to go to Ipswich, and Coventry have to come to us. And outside of that, you look at the teams who we've got to play. All them games look winnable, albeit we are the worst team in the division.
Well, just one last quick one from me, Ollie, related to West Brom. It was a team who I guess you could put in that basket of sort of having a troubled January, a troubled season, really. Aston Villa have recalled Samuel Illing Jr. He made 24 appearances so far this season. He's gone straight to Pisa over in Serie A. So that is obviously poor and bad news for West Brom. Your makings of their sort of January as a whole.
Yeah, disappointing, isn't it? The whole club's in disarray at the moment. I think we spoke about it on a few pods about the experiment they had with Ryan Mason. It's just not working. It seems like everything that West Brom are trying this season's failing. I don't even know where to start with West Brom, because you look at the squad, and on paper they've got a really decent squad, but yeah, really disappointing. And I think they've got a lot to be concerned about down there, because given the teams in and around them, they're starting to pick up points. You look at the likes of Portsmouth. They've got a big result at the weekend, obviously, over West Brom, and it's like that's enormous for them now. So it's dragging them right into that mix. So I think there's a lot to be concerned about down there at the Hawthorns.
Fantastic. Anything more from you, Sam?
No, all good, all happy.
Done a great job there in terms of covering the Championship, of course, from the Championship Lowdown. Thank you, Ollie, for that. Great to have you on. Thank you. Great to have you on the Deadline stream. Plenty have happened. I think it always is the way, isn't it? We go off 10 minutes to sort of dive into one particular league, one particular club, and lots happens sort of a bit wider. We mentioned in terms of Harrogate bringing in Sam Waller. They brought in Tobias Brennan, midfielder, earlier on as well. So a couple of deals done for Harrogate on deadline day. A couple of comments to just briefly mention in a second. Simon Angrina, first off, from Sunderland. He looks like he's going to Monaco on a loan until the end of the season. Another Premier League deal. Arsenal, they're signing up England under-19s international Jayden Dixon from Stoke. 3.2 million, it seems, the deal that's been reported by Peter O'Rourke. But a couple of comments in. One related to Cardiff City. Our thoughts on their January. I'll let you take that one, Sam.
Yeah, I think it's been the best part, I think, of Cardiff's January is they've not sold any of their best players. They've kept hold of Dylan Lawler, they've kept hold of Kopakiao, they've kept hold of Trott, they've kept hold of Robinson, they've just kept hold of everyone that they needed to have a successful end to the season, because they do have their moments because it's a young squad at the end of the day. They have their moments like they do at the weekend where teams just sit on the 6-yard box and they've got to try and break them down. That will happen quite a lot to Cardiff. If a team comes out to try to play them, I think they're a very good side. My only concern is, do they have a plan B? The only real signing of note they made was Harry Tyra in goal. That was because Jack Anick and Horvath both left. So did they need a bit more? Potentially with Salech being injured. But you can't argue that their model of promoting from within has been rather successful this season. So you never know. They've probably got another little Welsh whiz kid in the youth academy ready to make that step up.
Yeah, lots being done across the league. Not as you mentioned there, not so much at Cardiff because they perhaps just didn't need to do that business because of how well they've done so far this season. And a comment for me as well, quite curious, the Doncaster's Meet the Owners event is happening tonight on deadline day. When it came in, it looked an interesting decision that it would be on deadline day. Of course, that deal's been done earlier on. No more will be done at Doncaster, seems to be the indication. Grant McCann said already at that Meet the Owners events that the joking said the phones are off. There's no one leaving the club, and of course all the ins have been done with Elliot Lee coming in quite late on. Stockton perhaps going to Morecambe. One of the comments coming through. I'm sure the guys taking over from us at 7 can cover that because they'll be talking about the National League, League Two, and a bit of the Premier League as well. So we'll leave that in their capable hands. Just under 10 minutes now, Sam. Before we hit that deadline, I guess not really the deadline if the deal sheets come in, and it's a bit more, I guess, a ceremonial deadline now. You've got to have most of the work done if you are going to make a transfer, of course, by 7 p.m. So far, then, if you want, I guess you can take it as 2 questions. A deal of the transfer window, deal of deadline day. What do you reckon?
Deal of deadline day. I'm going to say I think Keylor Dunn to Wrexham is very, very good. I think he's a £5 million player and they've got him for around half of that is led to believe. I think that's an excellent signing. I think Schmodix to Derby will be an excellent signing as well. I think Johnny Eustace obviously knows him well. So if he can get the best out of him, Derby, nobody expected them to be where they are. So they're pushing well above their weight. And then if I had to pick another one, Anthony Patterson to Millwall from Sunderland as a goalkeeper. They're making a really good fist of it at Millwall this year, which is good to see because it's something different. Like everyone's fed up of seeing the same clubs come up and down. It's brilliant to see. We've got so many different clubs this year fighting for promotion from the Championship. Onyeka's just gone to Coventry as well. I think that's a good signing. They needed another midfielder. They weirdly kept signing wingers. They didn't need wingers. They needed a centre midfielder. So they've now got a centre midfielder. In terms of the League One club that's had the worst January, horribly, I think it might be Exeter, to be honest, because they just can't
I guess comes
buy
as no
anyone.
surprise, does it?
No, they couldn't buy anyone because their budget is already too high. They've already said they're going to cut it by £1.5 million in the summer. The other only club that's probably had a weird January is Luton. Obviously, there's been a lot of outs, a lot of them on loan to clubs in higher divisions, like Milenic Ali, who joined them last season, has gone on loan to Portsmouth and hit the ground running there. Massively improved them in terms of their form. Ethan Archer, who signed in the summer, has gone back out on loan to Port Vale. And I personally really rate Ethan Archer. So I'm surprised that's happened. Zach Nelson, who was playing for them, has gone on loan to Wimbledon. Jerry Yates has somehow ended up at Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, they'd take anyone. And then Christ Macasso has gone to Oxford. So they've all gone up divisions. I mean, Fane's gone to Venezia. So he swapped Luton for Venice. I mean, that's one big upgrade in terms of culture. I think the weirdest signing, though, for Luton is Devante Cole, which kind of come out of nowhere in terms of it looked like he got his.
We had promised actually on the review show that we would talk about Devante Cole with Seb, but we got sidetracked with all the Davis Keylor Dunn news. So I'm glad you brought that up. Of course, was at Port Vale for the first half of the campaign, scored a few goals, and now he's jumped ship to Luton. Sorry to cut across here. What were you going to say about Devante Cole's move?
Yeah, he got a bit of the didn't he? I think at Port Vale because of how bad they were. He hit the ground running, and then he actually got match fit, and then stopped scoring. I mean, I don't
it was
blame
strange,
him for
wasn't
going
it?
to
He
Luton.
started really well.
Yeah, I don't blame him for going Luton, but is he really what Luton needed? To be honest, like they've got Al Hamadi, they've got Naki Wells. I'd argue that they don't need somebody like a Devante Cole. I think they need someone younger who has a bit of pace about him, and Devante Cole's not that type of striker for me.
They've been
They
struggling
need
for
a
goals, haven't they? I guess.
They are, yeah. They need an Aki Wells from 10 years ago is probably the best way I can describe it
Yes.
to them. Or Tom
Yeah,
Bradshaw from 10 years ago. That's probably
Mm.
what they were after. And they've ended up with Devante Cole. There was a whole host. Something I found on Twitter while we were talking with Seb is Luton Town's January signings since January 2024. So they signed 30 players, I think 27 players since January 2024. Only 9 of them still remain at the football club. They've spent £30 million on fees and around £10 million on managerial exits since 2024. So in 2 years, they've spent 40% of their parachute money already, which is rather alarming.
Yes, definitely that. Lino Souza has gone from Aston Villa on loan to Rotherham. A couple of late deals for them. Duncan Moore came in a little bit earlier on. I think that might mean there's a deal at Leyton Orient, an interesting noise.
Peter O'Rourke. I have no idea who this fella is, unfortunately. But Peter O'Rourke has said, understand.
Well, Peter O'Rourke's, of course, the journalist. Yeah, so
he's the League One Fabrizio, as we call him.
Yes, indeed he is. So he's saying, yeah, go on.
I was surprised we've gone back to Stoke for a player after Simkin and how he didn't really play for us. Understand Stoke winger Favour Fawamni is set to join Leyton Orient on loan.
There you are. At least it's someone. At least it's someone.
It's somebody. We did need a winger, to be honest. Right, into the old Google search. Here you go. Let's have a look at his career, shall we?
As you go and Google a couple of bits and pieces to take up involving Crystal Palace, they're nearing a deal, it believed, for Strand Larsen at Wolves, and one that looks a bit closer. This from David Ornstein. Crystal Palace reaching an agreement with Everton, a potential deal worth in and around £20 million for Dwight McNeil, the 26-year-old winger, undergoing his medical. Raced against time to complete the deal there. Interesting. I'll get your thoughts on that. But yeah, first on the Leyton Orient transfer.
So he's played 2 senior games in his career. That's a very Orient signing. 2 appearances this season in the League Cup. But he's got a very good record in Premier League too. 7 appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists. So we've just got to hope he's not another Kyan Edwards, because we signed him based on his record in the Premier League too, and that's gone really badly. We've just got to hope he's as good as Don Ballard, considering his under 21 record. So at least it's a winger. As long as we get a goalkeeper, we still need a centre midfielder, so we're still 1 more short. So we'll see. The deal sheets need to be submitted in 3 minutes' time. So please, we need a goalkeeper. Please.
Yes, time running out a little bit. A comment from Adam. We spoke about this a little bit earlier on in terms of Ryan Hardy looking like he's going to go for Huddersfield from Wrexham. That linking in a bit, that chain reaction. You see that a lot, especially on deadline day. There's these chain reactions. One move leads to another, and that one looking likely now. Keylor Dunn has gone to Wrexham, freeing up Ryan Hardy to move away. We mentioned earlier, Sam, that is that's a good move, isn't it? Especially for Huddersfield, bringing a player in and adding that extra option, because they've not got, I guess, perfect options at the minute. And Liam Manning has made that team better. They're ticking along nicely, but it's always good to add, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Angel Gomez and Adam Armstrong have completed their medicals at Wolves, which frees up Strand Larsen if that move to Crystal Palace is still going to happen. That is pretty much preparing for the Championship, signing Adam Armstrong. He's so good at the Championship level. But the different types of players, aren't they? Angel Gomez obviously has made his England debut under Lee Carsley and looked quite an accomplished little midfielder, to be honest. And Adam Armstrong just screams sort of a Championship striker. There was also rumours that they were looking at Che Adams because he was unhappy in Turin. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Manchester United forward Gabriel Bianchiri has finalised a loan move to Rotherham United in the past.
Another late one for Rotherham. And another move from Manchester United, James Scanlon. He's gone to Swindon of League Two, of course, Ian Holloway's team. But Rotherham been very busy late on, haven't they? No surprise, because they're another team down there in League One. They
are, and they've had into some form. Conveniently, they've finally got a squad fully fit, and they've won 2 in a row, which is rather convenient for them. We were surprised, weren't we, when they were that low? And then you go through their squad, it's like, half their squad's injured. Every single defender's injured. So it's always going to be difficult. Kyrese Lisby is staying at Colchester United after they decided not to sell their top scorer to Reading. That was a deal that kind of came out of nowhere. He's a player I've admired for a couple of years. Same with his brother Kyrell, who's at Peterborough. Obviously son of Kevin Lisby, who was Leighton Orient striker a number of years ago. But I think the deadline is about to shut, so expect a mammoth number of deals about to fly through the door.
We've hit 7 o'clock, so and it's looking like that deal, McNeil to Crystal Palace from Everton, looking like that one has been accepted in and around 20 million. Sky Sports now reporting that one. We've hit 7 o'clock. That means it's mine and Sam's time to head away and hand over to Jordan, George, and Jack. Jordan's going to join over for the handover. Last word from you, Sam. Thank you very much for joining us on this first hour. Great fun, very chaotic as always on these deadline day streams.
Yeah, we do love a good deadline day, don't we? And I've just seen Zekabiro has gone out online to Tranmere, and now I'm extremely sad. And that's the final note I shall leave everyone on.
A not so cheery note to finish. Thank you very much, Sam. Jordan, we await his arrival here on the live stream, and there he is, right on cue, just as you mentioned your name. Jordan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jamie. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. Glad I think my hour's over because it's getting busier and busier as the seconds tick by. See, you've got the Jim White yellow tie on, ready to go.
I've come fully prepared this time. It was one in which I thought last minute, and the one in the summer, but I couldn't find one for the life of me. I thought, actually, I'm going to come prepared this time. So I thought I'd spend the £5 on Amazon, so to look the part for this one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy deadline day streams for the ones I've been on. I think I've been on every one so far. Great to see that it's continuing so fast. But yeah, look forward to this next hour with obviously been keeping an eye with the League One and the Championship talk. Well, of course, obviously we're joined by two from the Premier League in this one, but I'm not letting them get away without talking a little bit about League Two and the National League as well.
That's the important stuff. Well, money well spent on the tie, Jordan. I'm going to head off and let you introduce your co-hosts as you pivot across, talk about, I guess, the leagues we haven't talked about too much. But thank you everyone who's joined us so far, and do stay tuned for the rest of the live stream.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jamie. And of course, Sam, previously on the, for the last hour, basically. Thank you very much. Okay, then. Hello, everybody. Great to be back. As I've said, I think I've been on every one so far for the Deadline Day live stream since we started doing them. I'm looking forward to getting into this next hour. Like I said, we'll be mainly looking at the Premier League, League Two, and a little bit of the National League. I know we've got Joe coming on in a little bit to talk about Sutton United, but I'm joined by the Premier League guys this evening in George and Jack. I feel like a little bit different being a fan of a League Two club here, but like I said yesterday on the League Two lowdown, I guess I can sort of put our side to it as well, considering that Grimsby Town, the team I support, have won the same amount, have beaten the same amount of Premier League sides and Wolverhampton Wanderers this season. So I don't care. I'm claiming it. How are you both anyway? It's great to see you.
Who's starting first?
Either one of you.
Go on, I'll jump in. Not too bad, to be fair. Obviously, as a Man United fan at the moment, as much as we might have lost to Grimsby earlier in the season, things are looking pretty good right now, aren't they? Because United have won 3 in a row. Everything's looking rosy. The haircut's coming soon for the United strand, and yeah, everything's going well at the moment. Last minute goals yesterday. I can't complain.
Perfect. Jack, how about you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. Liverpool won a game at the weekend, so absolutely delighted with that, convincingly as well. And there's a transfer that I'm sure we'll be talking about over the next hour that's got me very excited for the future of the club as well. So, feeling positive this week, which George will tell you hasn't been a frequent occurrence for me recently.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I've enjoyed myself over this past month. I mean, we've gone unbeaten, and it was 6 straight clean sheets until Saturday, which was a bit of a farce, but we're very much in this playoff conversation if we're looking at it from a Grimsby and League Two point of view. But like I said, we'll touch on everything, especially around those leagues, and of course all the deals done as we've just passed the deadline. Get your comments in as well. We're really intrigued to get you guys involved as well with any thoughts or any questions that you may have. Jack, we'll come to you first because you mentioned about Liverpool and another expensive signing on the way, albeit it will be for the summer. But 60 million quid on a defender, Jeremy Cachet, I think he's from the
Just
French.
just call him Jacket, mate. Like the stud.
Yeah, we're English, aren't we? Trying to be posh. How do you feel about that?
Delighted. Like you mentioned, it's for the summer, so that's the only negative about the deal in my eyes. Chelsea have had our number with transfers over the last few years. You'll remember Moises Caicedo and the fact that they nabbed him off our hands. They did the same with Lavia as well. So it's nice to kind of do their number for a change. Everything was leaning towards Jeremy Jacquet becoming a Chelsea player, and we seem to have snatched him last minute. Just a word on Kaveh Solokol of Sky, who obviously said that he only saw Chelsea as the team he was going to join, but Liverpool have swooped in and got that one done. As I mentioned, it's been a bit of a weird end to the window from a Liverpool perspective. We were, as supporters, we were pretty adamant that it was clear nothing was going to be done, despite us really needing to improve on our defensive options at the moment as we look to get a Champions League spot. So the Geertruida stuff came out of nowhere, really. Obviously that's not materialized, and then Jacket comes from nowhere yesterday. So it's a good deal. Wish he was coming in now, but I'll take him in the summer because he sounds like one of the best up and coming young centre halves that are around at the moment. So I think it's a top deal.
Good stuff. George, will come to you. Relatively quiet on the Man United front, I think, throughout January, I think is fair to say. Obviously, with the managerial change as well, with Michael Carrick coming in, has started very well. Of course, replacing the god, Ruben Amorim. Sorry. No, how do you feel about where Man United are at the minute? Because there's a lot of moving parts around that club all the time, isn't there, really?
There is. And I think right now, as a United fan, we're all feeling very, very optimistic. We're sat in fourth and we're looking upwards rather than downwards now because of the way that Villa are dropping points and even the way that Man City dropping points is right. Well, is there an opportunity for us to go and finish second here? Not saying we're going to win the league by any stretch, but with the way that United are playing, it's looking a lot better. In terms of transfers, of course, the main thing for United is they need a midfielder. And we've said this on the Premier League Lowdown for weeks now that United will be a much better side if they can bring in that type of player like a Baleba or like an Elliot Anderson that can play box to box, is both good defensively and going forward. Kobbie Mainoo is that kind of player, to be fair. And of course, Amorim didn't want to use him. And I think now the fact that Michael Carrick is using him adds a little bit of depth. We don't know why Mainoo wasn't used for whatever reason it was. Maybe Amorim just didn't like that style of player. But now he is being used. He is sharp and he's looking good again. United, it doesn't mean that they don't need to bring someone in because it's still crucial that they add in the summer. Casemiro is going to be leaving. I suppose that's one of the things that you could call that came out in this transfer window. He's announced that he's going at the end of his contract, and now it's kind of until the end of the season. Let's enjoy the rest of Casemiro because he looks fantastic. But of course, he is in his 32, 33 and his legs have gone. So we need someone who's got the energy of a younger player, but also got that technical skill, got that potential to be as good as maybe a Casemiro one day. You're looking at players like Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba. Can they be the key to unlocking that United midfield and progressing on? Because if they do decide to keep Michael Carrick or, of course, go and get a new manager, you need a strong midfield because that's where games, of course, are won and lost.
Absolutely. It's great to hear your opinions and all that sort of stuff. I'm just keeping an eye on all the stuff that's obviously a lot of moving parts going on at the minute. Crystal Palace have announced the signing of Jørgen Strand Larsen. That's just been confirmed. Obviously, with the news about Jean-Philippe Mateta today, looks like he's staying put at Palace. Not quite sure how they'll feel about that, considering the somewhat cloud that he sort of was going to leave under. Obviously, he's moved to AC Milan, fell through today. But, I mean, they're going to have Strand Larsen. I mean, either way, they'll have Jean-Philippe Mateta back. There's a lot of ground to make up, really, in terms of relationships there. But what sort of, I guess we should probably talk on Palace. Mention as well with with Dwight McNeil looks closer from what I've read as well. What we make of them, I think, at the minute, because it's been relatively busy on both fronts, really. Certainly in terms of developments heading into their season.
I think that we've said about Crystal Palace, haven't we, Jack, that they look slightly in trouble at the moment with the way that things are going. They're losing players left, right, and centre. Oliver Glasner's come out and said, right, well, he's off in the summer, and it's right now. It's Palace are in such a good position 6 months ago, and you think, what's happened? It's all fell apart. They'd come off the back of a trophy, of course, winning the Charity Shield as well, and it's like, right, well, can they kick on? Can they go from that club that often finishes mid-table every season, maybe slightly pushes for a Conference League spot? Can they go on to do what kind of Aston Villa have done, what Brighton did a few years ago, and push on to be that club that challenges the top 6 every season? And of course, then you have Eze leave, and then you have Gahey leave, and obviously now it looks like Mateta as well, and it's almost just all falling apart, really. And the fact that they have gone and got Strand Larsen over the line, I think I said a couple of weeks ago that Strand Larsen's going to be at a different club by the end of the January transfer window, just by the way that it's looking. And there's potentially Dwight McNeil coming in again. Does that give Palace a different edge? Does that give them a bit of hope for the rest of the season? Because it looked like they were heading for a bit of trouble. And I think, Jack, you were pretty similar on that as well.
Yeah, so I think with Palace over the years, since they've become an established Premier League side, they've always had at least one player that's really caught the eye. So, you know, you're talking your Yannick Bolassis, your Zahas, then it was Elise and Eze and things like that. And we're kind of seeing a new era of Crystal Palace now. Mark Gay's gone. Mateta was desperate to leave this month. That's not materialised. I think what they've done this window, they've improved their ball as a whole. They've got better options, not only in that starting 11, but to turn to from their bench as well. We saw earlier in the season they had a few injury problems, and that's when the negative results started. So yeah, it's for me, it's been a window of Palace strengthening their squad. And signings like Dwight McNeil, they don't exactly catch the eye. I don't think Crystal Palace fans will be too excited about that. But Strand Larsen is a good striker if used in the correct way, and they'll get goals from him. So I think from a Palace perspective as well, even though the kind of behaviour of Mateta this month hasn't been great, he seemingly wants to force his way out, or has certainly wanted to do that. They'll be delighted that they've managed to keep him and also add another good Premier League striker as well. So I think it's been a strong window for Crystal Palace, who of course they've broken their transfer record twice this window as well. So for a club that at the start of the window, their own manager was kind of criticising the board and what they do in the transfer market, I think the board have definitely answered back with putting their hands in their pockets and investing.
Perfect. I just wanted to touch on Dwight McNeil as well. As it's the same with Tyreek George as well. Deal sheets have been handed in for the both of them, for both Crystal Palace and Everton to get those deals done. Generally speaking, just across the Premier League, we'll all touch on, for the League Two listeners, we'll all touch on a few bits recently because it's been a hectic day in that division. But any other signings that has stuck out to you? I mean, I look at the two at Man City and have both made an impact, especially Antoine Semenyo, who started very well for them. Any maybe others that maybe catch your eye, in which maybe some that maybe have gone under the radar a little bit, let's say, or one just any that you like really.
It's difficult because I think the January transfer window is notoriously quiet usually, isn't it? And I think it seemed to me quieter than usual. I was, went to the match at the weekend and my dad said to me, it seems like only Man City have done stuff this January. And I get why, because, the big headline transfers seem to be just the Semenyo and Gay ones as far as the Premier League goes. I've been very critical of Conor Gallagher and the Spurs deal. I don't think it fits. And then obviously on deadline day, it's been quite quiet as well. For me, I think Crystal Palace, as I say, have done good business as well. Strand Larsen, he's not had the best of seasons for Wolves, but Wolves have been terrible this year. So will he find his feet and get the sort of goals that he was at Wolves last season at Palace? If they can get that striker out of him, then they've got a real player on their hands. So that's definitely one that catches the eye for me. George, yourself?
I think there's a couple, and they're both in claret and blue. And I'll start with Aston Villa because I think they've had a good window. They've brought in Abraham, they've brought in Douglas Luiz again, and we said that, of course, with their squad situation, with the injuries, they needed someone in that midfield. And I think what they've done is they've set themselves up for a strong end to the season. Look, they're sat in a good position. They're on 46 points, I think it is, sat in third, and they're going to be challenging for those Champions League spots. Let's be perfectly honest. And by the starts of the season that they've had, by the position that they've put themselves in, they should continue to challenge for them and quite comfortably get there. We shouldn't see a thing that happened last season where they just dropped off completely right at the end of the season and missed out just by goal difference. It was, wasn't it? But I think you've brought in players. I know that Abraham's score was ruled out yesterday, wasn't it? But you've brought in Douglas Luiz, who's got experience in the Premier League, who is known to be a good player. They only sold him really because of the PSR issues. You've brought in Abraham, who again has had Premier League experience, has grown his game over in Italy and stuff as well. So I think they've made good business for a strong end to the season. I'm going to touch on West Ham as well, because whilst we said how much West Ham were in trouble, you look at the players that they've brought in, and they seem to have made quite a big difference as well. Even Adama Traore coming in later on in the window, and as much as he was involved in everything that went on at the end of the Chelsea game, I think you're just bringing in players that are going to help you, particularly in those games like you go away to Stamford Bridge or you go away to Old Trafford or something like that. You play the big teams, and you've got to play like Adama Traore, who can unsettle teams. You've got to play like Castellanos, who is not afraid to be physical, and he's not afraid to get a shot away. So I think that's good from a West Ham perspective in terms of incomings. And of course, they've gone and got themselves nearly 40 million for Lucas Paqueta. And of course, whilst he is a quality player, I think they'll quite happily take the money, and the fact that they've been able to invest it in other places. Overall, with the way that West Ham are starting to transition, it seems like quite a strong window for them.
I think that's a really good point. So sorry to interject there, but West Ham, I think they needed to have a very strong window. They were falling behind, and they were in big trouble. They've signed some players a bit left field. No one had really heard of Pablo. No one had heard of Castellanos, unless you're an avid Serie A watcher. So I think they've been really clever as well with who they've let go. Obviously, James Ward-Prowse to Burnley on loan, and Paqueta as well. They're two players that I think were causing a few problems off the pitch as well, and had a bit of attitude problems, which were a concern for West Ham. And it seems like since getting rid of the two of them, they've had a real boost, and something seems to have clicked within that squad now. I know they surrendered a 2-goal lead at the weekend, but Stamford Bridge is a very tough place to go to. So I think losing there, though it may have dampened the mood in that West Ham squad, it's no real major issue for them. It's not where you think the wheels are falling off again. And West Ham in the last few matches before that have given them a real chance of staying up, when I think a lot of people were saying they were down after the Forest loss. So yeah, I think George is spot on. I think West Ham have had a very good window.
Good stuff. Right, just before we move on as well, more deal sheets have been handed in. Looking at it, we mentioned West Ham, Axel Disasi. There's a deal sheet handed in for him, and the two at Wolves as well, with Gomez and Armstrong. Deal sheets handed in for both of those. Right, okay. We'll come back to the Premier League, because I'm curious that we want to try and, I certainly want to try and get a little bit of League Two in there as well. Busy day in the fourth division. Well, not if at Grimsby. It's been very quiet. It's been quite a nice day in which, from a club of our stature, the fact that I think any signing that we were wanting to make now, I think is more of a want rather than a need. And I think for a League Two club, I think that's incredibly sensible. We know that we like to try and get our business done early, and we've addressed the key positions that we wanted to address. Needed to bring in a goalkeeper, brought Jackson Smith in on loan. Needed a striker, brought Andy Cook in, physical, and been a very good striker in League Two for years. A little bit more firepower up front with Terrell Sellers-Fleming. Brought a defender in as well with Maldini Kachuri. Of course, a centre-half called Maldini. This one's from Albania. We've got him on a permanent from Arsenal, young defender there. Bags of potential with a club like us, we want to try and develop those type of players. And I think in an ideal world, I'd have liked another right back, but I think for where we are, I'm happy with what we've got going into the rest of the season to keeping alive our playoff push, which is currently what we are at the minute. As for the other teams, I feel like there's some big ones out there today. I think if you're a Barnet fan, I think you probably want to turn off. With Ryan Glover set to be out the door. He's making his way to League One Blackpool. From the looks of things, it'll significantly ruin their playoff chances, I think, even if they get a solid enough replacement. He's been one of the best players in this league this season with his technicality and his versatility as well. He's been a real impactful player for them. Kyrie Salisbury, I think, is a big one at Colchester United as well. There was a deal in place for him to go to Reading. I think it sounds like by all accounts, Reading agreed a fee. Lisby was open to the move. but it sounds like that deal has fallen through because Colchester were not able to find a replacement or a suitable replacement in time. So it does feel like a bit of a blow for him. And I saw his Instagram story earlier. I think you can make of that what you will if you listen to it on a League Two perspective. Elsewhere, I've seen the likes of Matt Dennis has had interest from Burton Albion. A bid has been rejected from them. Swindon have been busy. Jake Batty coming in on a permanent deal to the end of the season. It looks like Isaac Hutchinson is going back to Cheltenham Town. Spent the first half of the season there. Got recalled by Bristol Rovers about halfway through the month as well, and he's now going back there. I just see that as a waste of time, really. But great news on Cheltenham as well. It's been quite an interesting one. Couple in at Fleetwood, couple in at Harrogate, I think the fact that Ryan Glover is a huge loss for Barnet, as I said. I think Kyrie Slisby, him staying at Colchester, I expect him to do a little bit more business. Waiting for that to be confirmed. It's getting excited amongst the playoff pack as well, and I think Lisby's a big part to play in that this season. Walsall sounds like there's a couple in as well. MK Dons, I'm not sure. It's all gone pretty quiet there, really. I know that Pool 1 wanted a couple more, but nothing's really materialised from that. Marbeckel's going to Gillingham, maybe another one as well, but we'll have to see on that one. Tranmere, I don't think they've had the greatest of window either. Bristol Rovers look like they've been busy, but probably not as busy as I'd probably expect, really. It looked like they were interested in signing Ryan Glover, but obviously missed out to Blackpool Bells. Things Joe Quickly looks like he's coming in from Oldham. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think they've got better strikers there. Maybe one that he's not set the world alight with Oldham. Let's be frank about that. Newport bought a couple in as well. I saw that Nick Zanev, their goalkeeper, has somehow fallen upwards and gone to Huddersfield. I don't know how he's done that. I saw that they also brought in a Austrian midfielder from Scotland. I think it's there's a sort of links there. Maybe Christian Fuchs might have there. Of course, he's the manager of Newport County now. And I saw Kai Whitmore left the club today, which also had quite a lot of disgruntled county fans, which sort of bodes well ahead of Grimsby's trip there at the weekend when we're surely to lose 3-0 to a side that are 23rd in the table and are struggling for points. But that's just a quick run through from League Two. Is there anything else, just in general, that I know we're on there? I know we've got Joe coming on in about just under 10 minutes time. We'll be discussing a little bit about the National League as well. But I'm also just looking at it from obviously a Premier League side. I've been keeping an eye on Forest actually all day. Obviously with some of the business that they've been doing, or certainly one that they look to be doing, Luca Nets. If you played like FIFA career mode or Football Manager, you'd know that he was a top player a couple of years ago, and looks like he's coming to Forest. I know that they were after Celtics midfielder Engels as well, weren't they? Had 3 bids put in, 25 million, I think was their third one as well, which was rejected from them. I think they wanted a midfielder. Doesn't look like they're going to get one. In fact, I think I saw the fact they had a bid for Hayden Hackney as well from Middlesbrough. Very good player for that football club. But it looks like that's been rejected as well. I don't know. It feels like they're somewhat failing in that regard because they wanted a midfielder and they've left it to the last minute, and it doesn't look like they're really going to get anyone. Unless I've totally missed it, but that's just what I saw earlier.
Yeah, they missed out on Mateta as well, didn't they? I know it's a different department, but it feels like Forest have had a bit of a frustrating window. I think their bids today have been a bit silly. I hadn't seen the Hackney one before this recording, but bidding for someone like Hayden Hackney, there's not a chance Borough are going to let him go on deadline day, is there? Because he's so integral to their team and to their chances of promotion. So. It just seems like a bit of a daft bid from them, and equally the same for Engels. They've obviously bid quite a lot of money for him, but to do that last minute on deadline day, you don't see a club like Celtic selling up at this point in time. So it just seems like they're kind of clutching at straws, trying to force a deal over the line that's not there. But yeah, potentially with the signing they have made, Marinakis has been playing Football Manager again over the last few years.
Perfect. I think that's it. Yeah. This is the part of the live in which I go, I'm just scrambling for news. There's surely it's all happening. It's fast happening. Anything else? Is there anything you want to mention as well? I've got about 5 minutes until Joe comes on.
I've got some. If we're talking National League in a minute, then let's do a little preface, because obviously I'm involved with Altrincham in the National League, and we've had a big signing come in today. That's Charlie Olsen from Blackburn Rovers, who we had on loan last season, and he won Young Player of the Season for the club, and he was absolutely fantastic for a centre back that's 21 years old. So experienced, fantastic in the air, scored a couple of goals for us as well, and was kind of regarded as a player that is going to be League One Championship quality in his career to come. And he's coming on a permanent deal today. So that's absolutely massive. Was on loan at Blackpool, I think, earlier in the season, I might have read. But had a lot of clubs chasing after him after he was recalled. And that's a massive deal for Alty, the fact that they've got that one over the line. So whilst this season seems like it's almost gone in terms of any chance of a playoff place, they're more looking at getting away from the relegation battle. Defensively, they've made a fantastic signing, and they've got one of the most promising centre-backs now in the National League on a permanent deal for the next 18 months. So huge signing for them.
Yeah, look, I'm obviously no stranger to the National League. Obviously with Grimsby, we've had our time down there. Never again, thank you. But I've been keeping a really close eye on it this year. Obviously, the promotion race is really interesting. It does look like, for me, it'll probably be one of York or Rochdale. I know Rochdale have got like a bunch of games in hand because they had a dodgy pitch. But I still think, I don't know. Well, I think York will still do it. I think it's probably the expectation that they have to do it, actually. Yeah, look, it's a really exciting one. I mean, Scunthorpe are in that mix. I mean, do we really want them in League Two? No, we don't. Keep them down there. Or we'll just take 6 points. In fact, no, we'll be in League One next year, won't we? We'll get in the playoffs. We'll win that, and they don't have to worry about us. I know Forest Green and Carlisle are in the mix.
It's a good away day though, Scunny Jordan. Good away day.
Well, it's not bad when they're your bitter rivals. I mean, we had a good day the last time we had fans in there. Beat them 2-0. It was literally the week before COVID. That was. We lost to them 3-0 in the year we got relegated at their place, and I'd rather not talk about that. And we have played them since. They've played National League North since then. Even we didn't stoop that low. Even Morecambe. Look, I think we've all seen Morecambe over these last couple of months, obviously with their manager on Twitter, because it was all you ever saw at the weekend after they lost the game. So obviously they sacked him the other day. Obviously, the moral thing is, don't make stupid statements about after 4 months we're going to have the best team in the country, because you are doomed to fail, basically. That's all I can say from that. But obviously, the deadline's a little bit different in a National League because they don't close to March, isn't it? I think
it's something like March. You can sign anyone you want, really. So it's like you get deadline day signings, but they're not deadline day. That's the real thing of it, really.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had a couple of them in around that time as well, which have proven to be a big success. Again, I'm sort of struggling here. I've been complimenting them about my time.
I'm surprised you've not mentioned the breaking Grimsby news.
I saw. I saw, but I didn't want to bore you to death with it. I'll tell you what. Happy deadline day, Cam McJanet. I love you, son. That's excellent news. Proper ball-playing defender.
We could talk a bit of Calvin Phillips. I've seen his move to Sheffield United's been confirmed. It's been a frustrating few years for him, hasn't it? And I think he'll be gutted. It's a World Cup year. He was a frequent person in the England squad at one point, and obviously he gets what would have been a dream move for him at the time to Manchester City, but it's just not worked out for him, has it? And he's had a loan move since then that didn't really work, and now he's dropped down to the Championship in a World Cup year. So disappointing for himself, probably, Calvin Phillips. But I'm sure he's probably seeing this as an opportunity to really impress in the Championship and get a move and establish himself as a Premier League player again in the summer, because there is a real talent there. He's a very good midfielder. When he's at his best, he's a workhorse, quite similar to Conor Gallagher, really. When he's at his best, Calvin Phillips. So let's hope that this move for him as a player is good at Sheffield United, and he can kind of get back to his best.
Yeah, it's been a bit sad, really. What's happened to him over these last couple of years? Obviously, the 2 spells at West Ham and Ipswich not worked out, and going back into the Championship to hopefully probably get that enjoyment of playing football back. So I don't think he's probably had that over the last few years, really, is he? And a club like Sheffield United as well, back in Yorkshire, I should say, because he was hot stuff back in the day, not just for Leeds but for England as well. I mean, was it the Euros in which we lost the final as well?
Yeah.
He had a good tournament in that, and he was constantly, Gareth Southgate loved him, didn't he? And
there was a period of time where most of the big six clubs wanted him. He was player, a real good workhorse midfielder, worked hard, good on the ball, even better off it with the running he did. So yeah, I think it's been sad. Some of the comments about him from his own manager as well really haven't helped the situation with some of the stuff that Guardiola's said. And he's a player that for me needs confidence at the minute, and I think a move to Sheffield United is a potentially dangerous one because they're massively underperforming as a club this season. So he could, either turn things round and really impress, or it could get worse for him if it doesn't go well there. So fingers crossed for him.
Okay, we're going to bring Joe in a minute as I see these backstage. Just want to bring this comment up there back in for the League Two News. Such a shame to see Joe Quigley going to Bristol Rovers. Top player, totally going to be missed. 2 happy emojis. I think that's pretty much as sarcastic as you can get. I think there was a lot of question marks when Oldham signed him in the summer. I think I read permanent. I mean, if that's the case, and they've got a fee for him, I think they've done very well to do that. SBO was waived high. Man City fan, as you can probably see there as well. I've seen a couple comments from earlier, back from League One as well. Peter Rook says Huddersfield. I mean, League One, and he knows his apples. Humphreys, Anik, Mumba, Wells, and hopefully Hardy. Good window for Tam. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, again, shame what's happened to Barley Mumba, hot property for Plymouth a couple of years ago, and I just feel like he's not really hit the heights. Maybe different surroundings as well. I don't mind Huddersfield. I think they're a very good football club, and I'd quite like to see them back in the Championship as well. The ground's a bit weird, but it's one that I quite like actually. But yeah, decent club. Right, okay. Let's talk National League Sutton United with Joe. Hello, mate. It's been a long time since I spoke to you properly. First of all, how are you?
I'm very good, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be back. Yes, it's been a good almost 2 years since I've appeared with you guys. But Sutton United still plugging away, still doing what they're doing. I mean, doesn't make a difference whether we're in League Two or National League, Jordan. Still depressing, as always.
No, it doesn't. I mean, look, a couple of years and a lot has changed because we were both. I remember we were recording podcasts at the time saying about, our 2 clubs are right in the pits, and it was just going to be a case of which one of us was just the crappiest to drop down to the National League. Thankfully, it was you lot. We just about, although we weren't pretty in that. Not much has changed on your part because you're actually fighting for your lives down in the National League as well. Whereas we've had a little bit of a difference, just missed out on the playoffs last season, and we're probably very much in the mix again this year. Like I said, I thought that year was a blip anyway, and I'm glad that's sort of proven to be the case. But anyway, just in terms of Sutton transfers this season, how are you finding it? I can't imagine it's been pretty with the fact he currently sat 20th and just outside the relegation zone on goal difference.
Well, there's just a lot of change, really. Like, the season we went down, basically had an entirely new squad. 2 players, I think, or 3 players kept from the relegation from League Two. So that was all. Last year was always going to be a rebuilding year, and then we still signed another at least 12, 13 players in the summer, which is never ideal for a settled squad. And then Steve Morrison got sacked, which again, when a manager gets sacked, players who he likes and maybe come into favour under him change under the manager. Chris Agata gave us a bit of a nicer autumn, but we've had a bit of a struggle lately, and then it's just about kind of adding to what we've got. A lot of loans going in and out, a lot of players who we bought the season after we went down, not featuring. It's it feels like transfers can be. It's a bit about who we can get. I think there are a few signings which are, yes, this is exactly who we want, but obviously Agata can only January you can only imprint as much as you are able to in January. You can't do a whole rebuild and a whole revolutionary of a squad. And as we know, the National League is incredibly competitive from top to bottom. I mean, you see one or two standout sides, but pitting a game 18th v 5th, it's not necessary that the 5th will win, because it depends who turns up on the day. I think we've added well. We've added as well as we can, kind of looking from lower leagues, a lot of young loans. I mean, we've lost a big name in Jack Taylor to Stevenage. Got a 5-figure fee for him, by the sounds of it, which is, I mean, it's a great thing for us as a club to see that this academy model's working. It's been talked about, this Brighton model that we tried under Steve, and then trying to move players on. And it's great that we've got him out. I mean, the moment he came on for his debut against Tranmere in League Two, we always knew he was going to be a great player, and it was just I felt like when, not if, he would leave. And I'm sure he'll kick on in League One. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a low move to League Two next season, because I don't know if he's ready for League One football, but he is a one to look for the future. And Junior Eccleston, again, a right back, linked with Blackburn Rovers. Been amazing this season. Again, another academy product. You got Charlie Bell coming through. So from a transfer point of view, if it's promising for the future, at the moment, transfers have been one or two good ones. Jermaine Francis, Hartlepool, moving back down south. He's a signing I'm very happy to have on board. Kai Jennings on loan from Wimbledon, having him to the end of the season, massive boost, because I think he could be playing League Two very comfortably, but getting him that experience is very important. And Wimbledon fans were a little bit incredulous that he wasn't added to the first team squad. But you look at the transfers from the summer and the year before, and how good they were. I think 80% of them, you look back and think, oh, maybe they weren't quite right. You got the Will Davis, the Lewis Simper of this world. Will Davis obviously off to Fleetwood. He's gone to Fleetwood. Lewis Simper kind of being a shining light in quite a dark team. Jack Sims as well. But the rest, you got like Dylan De Silva, Sir George Lucy, Kane Critchlow, Mo Darborough, Edwin Ovaz, all out on loan in the National League South. Alex Woodyard, I mean, he was playing it for Colchester a year ago in January, and now he's playing for Folkestone and Victor. So that's a big drop. I mean, they're top of the 7th tier by a postcode, but a bit of experience in a very young team. It's a bit of a weird decision to loan him out, but transfers aren't easy, and not easy when we don't have a massive budget. I think we very much overperformed for a few years, and that means that this is harder to take. And again, we always say it was a rebuild year, and I feel like we're just getting more and more rebuilds, and finding a bit of consistency is going to be difficult. But in terms of going on the outgoings in the academy, it's looking more positive than negative. On the pitch, less so, unfortunately. Just the goal difference separating us, and a Dorking away trip, as Jordan, I'm sure, will attest to. That is not something I would want. Every game Dorking away was threatened, but then they got relegated, so we didn't have to fake much.
Yeah, they did. You avoided them, didn't you? So it's not like I could just send you the DM for that song, a bit of Aha. Absolutely belter of a song, by the way. If we're going to take them,
it's been ruined for me now, though. It's been totally ruined for me.
well, yeah. I mean,
it's the threat of going to Meadowbank is just looming over me.
For the last couple of months when you was in League Two. To be fair, I say that. I mean, I was starting to get bored of it from the fact that we could have gone down. Again, quite thankful that you were one of two teams that were worse than us. But you mentioned about obviously the large turnover of players at Sutton, and I think you mentioned the summer as well. A lot of big players moving on. I mean, Will Dave's has been hit and miss at times for Fleetwood. Started off well, but is that maybe what you've put that down to? I think probably the quality of players that moved on, and maybe some that you brought in. Maybe is that probably why is where you are, or is there a bigger story than that? Because obviously Steve Morrison lost his job early in the season as well. Was it down to him really, or I don't know?
I don't think it. I think we didn't get the right players in. I think we needed more experience. I mean, you look at the squad that got promoted, and you look at the squad that almost got the highest points total to not get playoffs in League Two. A very experienced squad, been there for years. Now, Matt Gray's gone, and he's not particularly played his trade brilliantly. He was at Eastbourne for only a month or two, and then was sacked. So, I mean, maybe it was just a great confluence of players and managers working together. I think player turnover is an issue. I think the real thing is that 7th in League Two, with the size and structure of the club, and we've had issues with finances, XYZ, and I think just looking at it, it's a bit you can't put it down to that. I think we need to come bit back down to reality. Look, National League is kind of where it comes out, and we are by no means in the top 12 in terms of finances and size and kind of what we can put in. It's about being frugal, and I don't think we have used our resources as well as we could have. I think Steve, I mean, I worked for the club, work on and off still, work for the club over the summer, and kind of working and kind of close with people that work with him, watching Steve, you can see very, very clearly what he was trying to do and exactly what he was trying to do. And training was positive, and the positivity going into the season, pre-season, was unreal. I mean, great win against Wickham, I believe, and like a 6-2 loss against Millwall where we could have had more. Smashing Hampton and Richmond. I know they don't seem like big games, but like really positive pre-season. And then York, really good result away from home, and it just all capitulated after that. And it was just like, it just didn't feel like everything was coming together as they all expected. And that meant, obviously, we had to get a new manager in. Agatha came in, we had a bit of positivity, had that whole Farnham Town and the multiple replays and the scoring like ridiculous minutes, and then a bit of an FA Cup run to play Shrewsbury. And, we had some high moments, but I think they maybe masked the fact that, Agatha got us a few wins. But we're still in it. We're still in the mire. I do think we have enough quality in these signings. I mean, like, I look at the squad, like Davide Radari, Bezat Topalage, just another player who played for us in that season last season, and kind of getting him on a free transfer from Bromley. Kwaku Donker signed from Tamworth. Shame about Osman Foyo. Obviously, he kind of came on loan, and then the whole gambling thing meant that he didn't stay on loan. He looked like a good player, but it just feels like a lot of false starts and nothing has gone together. I think we've been unlucky, injuries as well. I think we've just had a really rotten run of events that have meant that nothing's quite clicked the way it is, whether that be finances, whether that be, I mean, Steve Morrison's relationship with the fans. I mean, like, it was turbulent, to say the least. And I think that didn't help the most. I think, it's a much more united football club, but the reality of it is we are 20th. We are in a relegation scrap. The game against Brackley on Saturday was not good at all. Like, it was a 1-1 draw, but it wasn't a great game, in say the least. And it's a difficult league, and everyone's like, "Oh, we'll be fine. We'll finish about where we are." We have to consolidate that, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a few more additions over the free agents, or just a few more additions over the next month, just to get us over that line. A few more experienced additions, because I think that we're not safe. You see it with Braintree over the weekend, a 2-1 win. And you think they're a team, Braintree weaker, they'll go down. And you kind of look at the likes of Gateshead and Morecambe and Truro, but Gateshead look a bit quite far adrift, and Morecambe are far adrift. I mean, they've now got a new manager in, and that, it's still a bit of a mess there. But they have a talented squad. There's a world where they just have a resurgence and a real push to stay up. Truro are starting to turn losses into draws, and will they turn that into wins? And if we just start to, pick up a draw here and then, but are losing games, our home form isn't good enough, you find yourself with 3 games to go with a talented squad of players like Sims, Simper, Jennings, Radari, Eccleston if he stays and doesn't go out, a number of players, Topalage, who aren't National League South standard. And we find ourselves in a position where we are very close to National League South. And then you have a problem where you have the same thing again. You have to completely reinvent the squad, because a lot of players would leave in that case. And how much money will we get for them? I don't know. And it's not. And you see the teams that have done well going straight back down. And the 2 teams that I think of are Borehamwood and Dorking. They kept a large part of that squad together. The squads of the Ebbsfleets, the Maidenheads, the Dagenham and Redbridge. Look where they are. They're floundering mid-table. It's another very difficult league. You see that because, it's so difficult to get out. There's a reason why everyone is so worried about it. And I think our transfers are enough, but I don't think you can systematically put to transfers as the only reason why we're struggling. I think there's a lot of things that within the club we need to, we're trying to iron out. And from a fan point of view, and from someone who's, closer with the club, it can't just be put down to we signed the wrong players. I think it's a deeper thing than that, and the fan base is starting to realise that, and we're just trying to give Agatha time to try and fix it. But yeah, you said, Jordan, two clubs separated by a point in March 24, and you look now February 26th. Very, very different fortunes. And it is just the way football is. You think I could ask every Sutton fan at Gander Green Lane at a home game, what are moments to stick out your head over the last 5 years? Where you've got Pizza Cup final and you've got getting promoted and you've got going down, but you think of the penalty conceded by Buzanis in the 94th minute, but we've got 3 points there. Just those little 3 points could have changed the whole situation. So yeah, I don't think it's a purely a transfers thing, but this is a deadline day special. So I'm gonna say I'll stop ranting about the Sutton misfortunes. But yeah, transfers they're all right, but there's a deeper thing there.
No, that's great. I really appreciate it. Some good thoughts there. George, you wanted to put a question to Joe. Fire away, mate.
Yeah. So looking at Sutton's next fixtures, you've got Boston in there, of course, away, Braintree at home, Hartlepool away, and Woking and Wealdstone at home. Those are, maybe excluding Hartlepool, those are four clubs, that are right in that mix of potentially could get drawn into a relegation battle. There's 7 points in there up to Woking in 11th. And it feels like, as you said, anyone can beat anyone in the National League. You're on the same points as Braintree, Aldershot, 1 point ahead, Michael Altrincham, and then Boston on 30, and then you look above, there's just 1 point in it. How many points do you get out of those next 5 per se? And I feel like there's probably going to be one club out of those maybe 4 that are going to go down, because I think Truro, Morecambe and Gateshead are already cut adrift. Braintree obviously is sat in there. Do you honestly think it's going to be Sutton that end up propping up that pack?
No. I think we will finish 18th, 19th. I think it will be Braintree. I think we have more quality than Braintree. I think we have a little bit more know-how than Braintree. I think we play very risky football for a team in 20th in the National League. I think we play football that makes everyone very anxious. And I don't think our fans would be particularly unhappy if a little bit of long ball was employed, especially out the back. I look at those fixtures. That Braintree game is undoubtedly massive. I think Hartlepool. I think the away games. I mean, there is no easy game. Boston away is a difficult game, but the away form's been. It's not like I can say home's better than away, because it's all been a bit rubbish, hasn't it? So it's like I think out of those next 5, if we can get 7 points, that would be very good. And a win at Braintree would propel us 3 points clear of them, and then that gives us some momentum to kick on. Woking, I'm sure that, big crowd, boys will be fired up. Obviously, localish kind of rivalry. So that will be another game. Hartlepool's a difficult one. Boston's a difficult one. I mean, Boston, had a very good end to last season. Obviously, Coughlin's gone, and kind of just the events have gone there since. But they're very, some days they're great, and some days they're really, really rubbish. A bit like us. So it all depends on which team turns up. But I think if we can get 7, if a dream maybe 9, 10 points, I would say we have enough. I think we do have enough in this squad. I mean, there are too many players in this squad to be good enough to go down. But we've said that in previous years. We've said that about Dagenham and Redbridge. We've said that, we said that in League 2. Forest Green that season had a ridiculous squad and finished bottom.
Yeah.
And same the season with us, Amari Patrick, Harry Smith, both players who, obviously Smith's injured and Patrick's still flying at Tranmere, but both players with incredible capabilities, and we just couldn't pull ourselves out of it. So I don't want to say, we'll be fine. And that's what concerns me. Some people are like, we've got the quality to be fine. That's the mentality that scares me, because it's just like, this league is too unpredictable to say anything. So yeah, I'd say 7 to 8 points out of the next 5, and I think we'll be okay. But I'll run in the last 8-9 games of the season is rough. We have Forest Green, Borehamwood on the last day, Rochdale, Southend, but basically got all the top 7 apart from a few. And it's like, okay, right, that'll be a fun time, and it's about picking up points in these games, as you say, George. That is important, because looking at those games, looking at Rochdale, Altrincham, Borehamwood as a final few games, it's like, right, that could be where we don't pick up points, and that's where you go from like sitting pretty in 16th, 9 points clear, but then all you need is Braintree to have some sort of resurrection and win 3 games on the trot, and then it's all on goal difference. So it's about scoring and not conceding, and it's a dire situation to be in when you're worried about other teams more than yourself, because it does feel we're very much, if we lose, the amount of people that I saw at, I'm at uni now, so I'm not seeing as much of the games, which is different. But from what I can tell, people checking their phone to see, who scored, what's the scores elsewhere? Because at the weekend, everything that needed to go against us did. Braintree won. Everyone won that they needed to, and that we were 3 points clear of the drop zone. We're now right on it. And another game we like that, let's say we lose at Boston, everyone else goes our way, then we're 3 points in the drop zone. And that's a much harder position to motivate the players to get out of. So, yeah, talk to me in 2 months. And if I've still got fingernails, then I'll do an appearance. But yeah, it'll be close.
I'll certainly come back to you then. Look, Joe, we're gonna move on because we are approaching 8 o'clock as well. So there's a couple more things to get through, but really appreciate you coming on this evening and some really interesting thoughts about Sutton as well. To be fair, I'm rooting for you a lot. I hope you guys do it. You're a decent club down there, and I've enjoyed my trips to Sutton for the past couple of times I went there in the Football League. So look, Joe, thank you very much for coming on, mate, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Jordan.
Cheers, mate. Right, okay. Quickly, we're going to be looking at some of the other transfers that have just been announced. I know Jake's been backstage; he's been somewhat feeding them in as we go along. I thought I'd read out some of them. Louis Barry gone back to Stockport County for a third stint. I don't really know what's happened to him. Really, I mean, he's one of those players that feels like he's too good for League One, but probably not quite there for the Championship because there's been a couple of loans for him now with Hull and Sheffield United that's not worked out. Moving back to Stockport, of course, very much back in the in that mix of challenging for promotion at the top end of League One, a place he's loved there as well, and a manager he knows well in Dave Turner. I think it's a sensible move. Some of the other stuff, Kevin Burko has joined Shrewsbury Town from Salford City. They're getting into it. I'm curious to get Jake's thoughts on that one. I'll speak to him soon. Biancheri swapping Man United temporarily for Rotherham after I saw that earlier there was a bid from Real Betis was rejected. I mean, that's quite the change, isn't it? The fact he could have gone to Betis, you've ended up in Rotherham. Have you got anything to add on Biancheri at all?
I mean, he's swapping the Spanish plazas for Meadowhall, isn't he? Practically, like it's a bit of a fall from grace. I think Biancheri's one of those players. Like you look at that whole United academy, and it's like the majority are really exciting players, and we've seen quite a few of them be really successful. Of course, when they dropped down, Ethan Wheatley's been doing really well. I think was it Northampton? Then he switched to another club, hasn't he?
Yeah, he joined Bradford today.
There you go. So you've got lots of players in there. I think where did James Scanlon go as well?
Can't remember.
He's gone somewhere today, I think.
Yes.
But
I can't recall.
You've got a lot of players in there that are very, very talented, but need the experience with the physicality of an EFL club. I think that's Swindon in there. There you go. So need the physicality of League One, League Two, and if they can get that, then they've obviously got the potential to make it in the Premier League. We saw it with Ahmad a few years ago when he went out to Sunderland, and look what player that made him. I know it's Championship and kind of thing, but I think there's an opportunity for these players that quite obviously have technical talent. We've seen them play in competitions like the National League Cup and the EFL Trophy and stuff like that. And it's very, very clear the talent there with the ball at their feet, but it's also, what you do off the ball and the kind of target that you make yourself, particularly for a forward player like Biancheri. So it'll be really interesting to see if he's going to almost get swallowed up in that bigger environment, and I'm talking about bigger physically, or is he going to start to shine and show that he's potentially a class above the rest of the players in the league technically? I think it's one of those which it's not really a risk for any club that takes them on loan, because it's right, well, you wouldn't be in the United Academy if you weren't half decent. It's just right, can they translate that to our level?
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan Levitt as well, formerly of the Man United Bucks, I remember as well, has joined Leyton Orient as well in League One there. Wrexham have been busy in regards to transfers in, transfers out. I mean, the Davis Keeler one is one I quite like. He's been a player that I've liked for some time. And they've signed someone else as well from what I remember. Again, his name escapes me, but a couple of loans going out. So Harry Ashfield has gone to Cheltenham Town. It sounds like Mo Fowl will be on his way to Cheltenham as well. So a couple of reinforcements there in for the rest of their season, because I said the other day, I think they're like 10 points clear. They'll probably survive because of the other teams below them are probably that rubbish at the minute. And they've got a bit of a buffer. but they've needed some little bit of threat going forward, and especially with Fowl, if he comes in, I think that's a really solid one. Caden Young has swapped Aston Villa temporarily for Reading, it looks like. Derby County have dipped into the Dutch market once again. Derry Merkin signing from Utrecht. I know they brought in a midfielder a couple of years ago from the Dutch league. So Andre Gray, remember him, mainly at Watford. Has gone to League One. He's joined Port Vale. There's a couple of rumours about him moving on to somewhere else. I saw Swindon maybe linked earlier, but that's not to be the case. Ryan Hardy's move to Huddersfield has been confirmed. Another one leaving Wrexham. Good move for him. You know, he's a good striker in League One. He'll score you a few goals. Joe Quigley's move to Bristol Rovers has been confirmed. Signing from an undisclosed fee for Oldham Athletic. If you're an Oldham fan, you're laughing at that. I think that's tremendous business there. And Colchester have also announced a signing as well. I mean, I've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast that their squad looks very threadbare at the minute with the amount of injuries. Romeo Akanchukwu, I believe I pronounced his name right, joining on loan from Southampton, the 19-year-old attacking midfielder. Right, we are coming up to 8 o'clock. Of course, if you get these, get your final thoughts in as well. We've got a comment here from Man City still have all chance to win it all. I'm not sure how much you'd probably approve that. I mean, yeah, true. I guess that is the case. But look, we are approaching 8 o'clock. Just in general, deadline day. Any closing thoughts? Just around the day in particular. Was it what you expected? I've seen busy deadline days in the past, if I'm going to be completely honest. But you know, you're still getting the old beautiful chaos, I guess, at times, aren't you? Especially with the couple of deals that have maybe taken place or are still yet to be announced. But you're certainly seeing that, aren't you?
I think the whole transfer window has kind of summed up the season so far, really. You know, me and George speak quite often on the Premier League Lowdown, and George will tell you I'm not a fan of the football that we're seeing at the moment in the Premier League and the way that the Premier League's gone and the over-reliance on set pieces, the negative kind of style that the majority of the teams are having. You know, you see Jake there talking about how teams in the National League are playing out from the back, whilst in the Premier League they're playing for corners and throw-ins a lot of the time. So yeah, I think the transfer window has kind of summed that up. You've had the odd good transfer that's kind of caught the eye, like the odd game that catches the eye this season in the Premier League, but the majority of it has been pretty meh. And as far as deadline days go, this isn't a memorable one by any means from a Premier League perspective. Just to read out, you read out a few transfers there. There's been a couple more in the last few minutes. Chelsea striker Fofana, David Fofana has gone to Strasbourg on loan. Shock, a player moving between those two sides. So that's one there. Obviously, I think you've mentioned already Tyreek George is going to Everton on loan as well, which I think is good for Everton with them losing Jack Grealish to injury. You've mentioned a few deal sheets that have gone in. Fulham in news where, you know, teams have kept players. They've managed to keep hold of Harry Wilson. He's out of contract in the summer. He's been brilliant for them all season so far. Can they keep hold of him after the summer as well? You know, it's big for them to keep him at least till the end of the season, but will they manage to tie him down to a new contract? And I think I'm not sure what's going on with their signing of Ricardo Pepe. I know that was close at one point, but yeah, I think it was on and off for a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure whether a deal sheet's been put in for that or whether it did collapse in the end. I think I'm reading here that it has collapsed for this window, but they're looking to go back in for him in the summer, so they'll be a bit disappointed in that. And then, of course, Tottenham have signed James Wilson as well on loan from Hearts, and he's going to go into their under-21s. So yeah, some last minute deals going through here, and I'm sure as soon as we head off here, there'll be loads more that go through that just haven't happened in this hour. So yeah, a slow and quiet deadline day in what's been a slow and quiet window, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. George, what about you? Final thoughts before we log off for the night?
It hasn't been enthralling, has it? Particularly deadline day or the transfer window in general. There's been windows in the past where everything's happened. I mean, it was a deadline day. It was about 8 years ago. It was when Arsenal signed Aubameyang from Dortmund on deadline day. And it was like, wow, that's a big signing. I think United had signed Alexis Sanchez. City had signed a couple of big players as well. And it was like, this is proper January stuff. You've seen even in the past, there's been late loan deals for big teams like United signed Sabitzer a couple of years ago on the final day, and it's like, particularly Premier League, there's just nothing massive to make a big difference per se. The only thing maybe is Axel Disasi is potentially on his way to West Ham on loan, which I think that would be a good signing. We know that Disasi's wanted to get out. Go on, Jack.
There's potential that might fall through there. I don't know if you've seen, but obviously there's been a couple in the last few years where he's been, or the last few windows where he's been close to moving. It's fell through last minute. It sounds like it's the case again with this one, where at the last minute the players demanded a bit more, and West Ham are reluctant to give him whatever those demands are. So again, is it, it sounds to me like his agent is a dodgy one that he potentially needs to get rid of, because this is a player that's desperate for football at the minute. He's been blacklisted by Chelsea. He needs game time. He needs that loan move to West Ham. So, I think he might be changing agents if that one falls through.
Interesting. I don't really have too much more to add. This has been a lot of fun, as it always is on deadline day. I mean, if we could we probably would stay up for the next couple of hours to talk about every deal that comes in yet. There's probably loads that would have been discussed that will just be announced just over. Just announced, I've just seen what George has just put in there. Nets has just been announced by Luca Nets has just been announced by Nottingham Forest from Borussia Mönchengladbach.
It's a good deal that you don't really see many Premier League clubs doing deals for that cheap anymore. So
was it 2 million?
1.1, I think, but 2 million with add-ons. So fair play. It's a good deal if they can get. I think you mentioned he was a top player a couple of years ago for gamers anyway. Let's see whether Forest can get a top player out of him, because it will certainly be. It's a low risk transfer, isn't it, when you sign a player for £1.1 million in the Premier League? So, let's see what happens with this one.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really see that happen every day, and look, if it pulls off, then brilliant. But it's very much low risk, low reward, isn't it? Or low risk, high reward, even potentially. I should probably say. But I think that's where we'll leave it. Like I said, this has been a lot of fun. There's a lot to get through. And I think we've tried our best to somewhat try to balance the books a little bit of Premier League. I've tried to keep you occupied with a little bit of League Two, and you've heard from Joe for about half an hour about Sutton and the National League, which was really interesting from him. It was great to see him again. And you can find us all up on our channels. You can find George and Jack on the Premier League Lowdown. You can, of course, find myself on the League Two Lowdown. We'll be talking about all the transfers pretty much from the teams throughout the month, probably on Wednesday. So if you're a League Two fan, you can stay tuned for that. Will you be doing the same for the Premier League, maybe, or is it just simple, just news or stuff? Maybe looking back on the day, maybe is that something you're probably going to do?
Probably. We'll do something. There's not many, but we'll manage to pull something out somewhere, I'm sure.
Keep your eyes peeled. We'll have a preview up tomorrow. Preview for this week's games and the potential transfer show coming out this week as well. So if you like Premier League content, then go and give us a listen.
Absolutely. And you know where to go to for all your League Two stuff, and for me to be a little bit silly, like forking out a £5 for this yellow tie, very last minute. But no, look, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for everyone joining in for the past couple of hours, even for the first hour in which you had with Jamie and Sam, and the guests that came on there as well with Seb and Ollie, as well, the resident Hull City fan. I'm saying no more. No, Ollie's all right. I'm joking. Don't come for me. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in as always. We hope to be back in the summer for another Deadline Day live stream. But again, in the meantime, you can find us all on our channels over at the Deck Network. And have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon. Take care for now.